What if the real reason you feel drained isn't what people say to you, but the fact that you keep answering them? What if every reaction you give is quietly handing away your power piece by piece? In a world that rewards noise, the rarest and most dangerous move is silence. Because the moment you stop reacting, you stop being controlled, and that's when everything begins to change. What if everything you've been told about strength is upside down? What if the things you believe make you noticeable, respected, and admired are actually the same habits draining your power? What if the most commanding presence in any room isn't the one speaking, reacting, or proving anything, but the one who lets all the noise fade while staying completely untouched? In a world addicted to constant reaction, the person who chooses not to react becomes unsettling, not invisible, unpredictable, and there's a big difference. You've been taught that engagement equals influence, that being seen equals power, that whoever speaks the loudest controls the story. But that belief keeps people exposed. Attention isn't authority. Attention can be a weakness. Every time you feel the need to explain yourself, respond to disrespect, or chase recognition, you're revealing pieces of your inner world. And once someone understands your fears, desires, or insecurities, they don't need to confront you, they can control you. Long before the modern world turned everything into a performance, thinkers understood this dynamic. People are more sensitive to losing respect than losing money, because money can return, but once your authority cracks, it never fully restores. And nothing weakens authority faster than being emotionally available to everyone. The one who reacts shows himself. The one who stays silent becomes a mystery, and mystery is where power grows. Look at patterns across history. The most impactful figures weren't the ones constantly speaking. They were often the ones who spoke less, but carried more weight. They didn't rush to defend themselves or chase every rumor. Their silence worked for them. When people couldn't read them, they started projecting their own assumptions. When they couldn't provoke a reaction, they began questioning themselves. That uncertainty spreads faster than any argument. There's a trap many people fall into without realizing it. They think if they don't respond, they're being disrespected. But when you respond to everything, you're showing that everything has access to you. You become available to anyone's emotional impulse. That's not strength. It's quiet submission disguised as confidence. Real strength is deciding what deserves your attention and letting everything else fade out. When someone ignores you, it's not always dismissal, it's a statement. It says you don't exist within their priorities, and nothing hits the ego harder than feeling irrelevant. That's why ignoring people feels uncomfortable at first. You've been trained to expect feedback, to crave acknowledgement, to depend on responses for validation. Stepping away from that feels unfamiliar, even isolating. But in that space, something shifts. You realize you don't need others to confirm your worth. You don't need their reactions to move forward. There's something unsettling about a person who isn't controlled by praise or criticism. When insults don't affect him, when compliments don't change him, when silence becomes his default response, people around him feel uneasy. They test him, push him, try to provoke him, and when nothing works, they begin to shrink in comparison. Power isn't loud, it's quiet and magnetic. It influences everything around it without needing to announce itself. Ignoring people is one of the fastest ways to build that kind of presence. When you stop giving your emotional energy away, others are forced to face themselves. Picture a general on a battlefield while enemies shout insults from afar. An amateur shouts back. A professional stays still, observes, calculates. That silence creates more pressure than any response ever could. The enemy starts imagining strategies, traps, intentions that may not even exist. And in that hesitation, the advantage is already won. Today, the battlefield isn't land, it's attention. Every argument, every message, every attempt to pull you into reaction is an attempt to drag you into someone else's frame. When you ignore it, you refuse to play the game. You stay in control. This isn't about being cold or careless. It's about protecting your energy. You can't allow every voice into your mind or every trigger to shape your behavior. Trying to satisfy everyone only makes you owned by everyone. Something interesting happens when you stop responding. People start revealing themselves. Insecurity becomes louder, manipulation becomes obvious, ego becomes exposed, and those who truly understand strength begin to respect you because they recognize the discipline behind your silence. You're setting boundaries without even saying a word. Confrontation keeps you at the same level as the other person. Silence creates distance, and distance gives you clarity. From that position, you can see things others miss. You act with intention instead of impulse. Most people weaken their own position by over-explaining. They think clarity brings power, but being unreadable often creates more influence.
Curious. When others can't figure you out, they become cautious, and that caution often looks like respect.
When you ignore someone who expects access to you, you're not being rude. You're reclaiming your time, your focus, your energy. You're showing, without saying anything, that you're not here to be consumed. You're here to move with purpose. As this mindset settles in, you'll notice something shift. The less you respond, the more seriously people take you. The less you speak, the more impact your words carry. The less you explain, the more authority you project. Not because you've become distant, but because you've become centered. Ignoring people isn't avoidance, it's a decision. It's choosing not to waste energy where there's no return. It's refusing to fuel situations that don't deserve your attention. Not every battle is meant to be fought, and some are meant to be starved. When you withdraw your attention, you take away the fuel that keeps drama alive.
Without that fuel, even the strongest conflicts fade. The world encourages instant reaction, responding, defending, proving yourself. But that habit makes you predictable, and predictability makes you easy to control. Every emotional reaction you give becomes a button others can press, but when those buttons stop working, you become difficult to manipulate.
People don't always respect the one who is right. They respect the one who appears composed, controlled, and untouchable. Silence creates that impression faster than words ever could. When you don't respond, people fill in the gaps themselves. They assume confidence, strength, strategy. They project their own thoughts onto you and often place you higher because of it. The quieter you become, the more others reveal who they really are. The insecure will lash out, the manipulative will push harder, and all of it unfolds without you doing anything at all. You stay still while they wear themselves out. Think about a negotiation. Two people sit across from each other. One keeps talking, explaining his position, justifying his price, exposing how badly he wants the deal. The other one listens. He doesn't rush. He doesn't interrupt. He lets the silence stretch until it becomes uncomfortable.
And in that discomfort, the first person starts giving more away than he planned. He lowers his demands, reveals his concerns, and slowly begins negotiating against himself. Silence is not empty, it creates pressure. Most people can't handle that pressure, so they rush to fill it with words. And every extra word gives you more insight, more control. That's why ignoring someone who is trying to provoke you affects them so deeply. Provocation is an attempt to control you. When you don't react, you deny them what they want. They were looking for a response, proof that they could affect you. Instead, they get nothing, and that nothing becomes unbearable. It forces them to face the possibility that they don't matter as much as they thought.
Power isn't about directly overpowering people. It's about influencing how they feel around you. When someone feels unnoticed in your presence, they feel weak. When they can't predict you, they become cautious. When they can't figure you out, they feel smaller. The idea isn't to lie or pretend, but to reveal only what serves you. Ignoring people is one of the simplest ways to do that. You give them no emotional clues, no signals, nothing to read, just a blank space where they start projecting their own thoughts. This is why someone who is always available is rarely respected. They are too easy to reach, too easy to influence, too easy to manipulate. Value comes from scarcity. Distance creates intrigue, and intrigue builds authority. Ignoring people is often misunderstood. It's not about not caring. It's about caring deeply about what truly matters and refusing to let distractions pull you away from it. Your attention is limited.
Where you place it decides what grows in your life. If you give your energy to every insult, every distraction, every minor conflict, you create chaos. If you withdraw it, you create focus and clarity. Think of a lion in the wild. It doesn't react to every sound or movement. It stays still, observant, and only moves when something is worth its energy. That stillness isn't weakness, it's control, and everything around it can feel that.
When you start ignoring what doesn't serve you, people will notice. Some will get frustrated. Some will try harder to get your attention. Others may suddenly become overly kind or flattering. This shift isn't random. It's a response to the new presence you've created. When your attention becomes rare, it becomes valuable. This applies everywhere: relationships, business, social circles. Attention is the currency everyone is chasing. When you stop giving it away freely, its worth increases. But this comes with responsibility. Silence shouldn't be constant, it should be intentional. When you do speak, your words should carry weight, brief, clear, and decisive. The one who talks all the time has to convince. The one who speaks selectively commands. As you practice this, you'll see a change in how people treat you. They interrupt you less. They listen more carefully. They think twice before crossing a line.
Not because you've become aggressive, but because you've become difficult to read, and unpredictability is a form of protection. You're no longer reacting to everything, you're allowing things to react to you. At some point you realize your biggest limitation was never other people, it was your need for their acknowledgement. The desire to be seen, validated, and responded to is what keeps most people tied to others' opinions. Once you break that need, you don't become distant, you become independent.
Ignoring people isn't just a tactic, it's a shift in how you operate mentally. You train yourself to feel secure without constant feedback. You learn to move forward without needing approval. And that changes how you carry yourself, how you see others, and how they see you. People are often more driven by the fear of losing something than the desire to gain it. When someone feels your attention slipping away, they feel uneasy. They start to worry about losing their place in your life. That discomfort changes how they act. They become more careful, more respectful, more aware. You didn't force anything. You simply removed something they took for granted. Think of a king surrounded by people competing for his attention. He doesn't chase them, they come to him. His distance creates their urgency. If he started seeking their approval, the entire structure would collapse. The same principle applies today.
The one who is always available ends up beneath others. The one who is selective becomes the center. When people have to make an effort to reach you, they assume you're worth it. Many people ruin their own value by being too quick to respond, too eager to explain, too desperate to resolve everything immediately. In doing so, they show that their time and energy are cheap, and things that feel cheap are rarely appreciated.
Ignoring someone sends a message without words. It shows that your life has direction, purpose, and movement that doesn't revolve around them. It creates a subtle tension, the sense that you are moving forward without waiting. And that tension sparks curiosity, respect, and sometimes even desire. This isn't manipulation in a negative sense. It's aligning with a deeper reality. People are drawn to what they can't fully control. They respect what they can't easily influence. They are cautious around what they can't predict. When it comes down to it, it's not about making others fear you. It's about creating the possibility of losing access to you. That alone changes how they behave. There's always a moment after you stop responding, a pause. On the other side of that silence, people begin to react, first calmly, then with irritation, then with urgency. If the silence continues, they start questioning themselves. Did something change? Did they lose importance?
That uncertainty weakens them and strengthens your position. Emotional control is the foundation of all influence. If someone can make you react, they can make you reveal yourself. If they can make you reveal yourself, they can predict you. And if they can predict you, they can control you.
Ignoring isn't about punishing others. It's about protecting yourself from being pulled into situations that don't benefit you. Every unnecessary argument drags you into someone else's world. It puts you on their terms. And the moment you accept their frame, you've already lost control. Silence keeps you grounded in your own space. There's a quiet strength in not needing to win every exchange. When you stop needing to be right, you start becoming powerful. When you stop needing to correct everything, you start commanding attention naturally. When you stop chasing respect, you begin to radiate it. Strength isn't about confronting everything, it's about choosing carefully, knowing what matters and what doesn't, and refusing to give energy to what doesn't. Think of a wolf moving through the forest. It doesn't react to every sound, it moves with intention. And when it does act, everything around it feels the shift.
That's what happens when you master this approach. Your presence carries more weight. Your absence becomes noticeable. Your attention becomes valuable. People sense it even if they can't explain it. They realize you're no longer easy to reach, no longer easy to influence, no longer available for manipulation, and they adjust.
Some people will drift away. That's fine. They were attached to access, not respect. Others will come closer, but with more awareness and care. Those are the ones who recognize real strength. Over time, you'll find yourself in a completely different position, quieter, more focused, more steady, and far more influential. Because the one who doesn't chase attention often becomes the one everyone watches. Underneath every social dynamic, there's one simple question: who needs whom more? The one who needs less holds the advantage. It's not about right or wrong, it's just how things work. And learning when to ignore is one of the fastest ways to shift that balance in your favor. One of the fastest ways to shift the balance in your favor is by understanding this simple truth. Most people move through life quietly revealing their needs. They want approval, understanding, inclusion, recognition.
And every one of those desires, when made obvious, signals dependence. The moment others feel that you need something from them, their perception of you changes. Not because they are cruel, but because of how human psychology works. What feels scarce is valued. What feels easily available is often overlooked.
When you choose to ignore someone, you're not being unkind. You're showing that your life, your focus, and your emotional state are not dependent on their validation. That alone changes how they see you. Power is deeply tied to perception. It's less about what you actually are and more about what people believe you are. When you stay calm and silent in situations where others expect a reaction, they don't immediately think you're weak. Instead, they start assuming there's more going on beneath the surface. They imagine strategy, confidence, control. Silence makes people fill in the blanks, and often they fill them in your favor. That's why someone who is hard to read always seems more powerful. People can't easily define them. They don't know if they're calm or calculating, relaxed or observing. That uncertainty makes others more careful. They think before speaking. They hesitate before acting.
Compare that to someone who constantly explains themselves. The more you explain, the more you reveal. And once people understand your triggers, your emotions, your weak spots, they know exactly where to press. Ignoring people protects you from that exposure. It keeps your inner world yours. In a time where information is constantly used as leverage, privacy becomes strength. When someone can't get a reaction out of you, their mind starts working overtime. They replay moments, analyze your behavior, and search for meaning. Meanwhile, you remain unaffected. That imbalance creates influence.
This is the same principle behind attraction and desire. The one who invests less emotionally often has more control. The one who waits sets the pace. The one who doesn't chase becomes the one others pursue. But reaching that level requires discipline. Silence can feel uncomfortable. Ignoring can feel unnatural. You'll feel the urge to explain yourself, to smooth things over, to respond just to ease the tension. That urge is your old habits trying to pull you back. Growth requires letting go of that need. You have to be willing to be misunderstood at times. You cannot be everything to everyone. The moment you stop trying, you begin to build something stronger within yourself. Watch what happens when you stop over-explaining. People begin to treat you differently. They become more thoughtful with their words. They assume you're focused, busy, intentional. They fill in the silence with respect.
Curious. This isn't manipulation, it's simply how people respond to mystery and scarcity. When you ignore what doesn't matter, you create space for presence. You become like still water, calm on the surface but impossible to fully see through. People project their own thoughts onto you. Some see confidence, others see distance, some see depth, but no one can fully figure you out, and that depth commands respect. As you apply this in your life, things begin to shift. Fewer people waste your time. Fewer people try to pull you into unnecessary drama. Your environment becomes quieter, more controlled, and in that calm, your real strength starts to take shape.
Silence isn't just a social move. It changes how you experience the world. When you stop reacting, you stop being controlled. When you stop explaining, you stop giving away your power. When you stop chasing, you start becoming noticeable in a different way. There's a reason the most impactful figures in history didn't constantly reveal their intentions. They allowed others to wonder, to guess, and in that uncertainty, their influence grew. The moment you reveal everything too early, you give others time to prepare against you. Silence keeps your direction protected. Every time someone tries to pull you into their emotional chaos, they're asking you to leave your center. They want you to step into their storm so they don't have to face it alone. When you refuse, you force them to deal with themselves, and that can be uncomfortable for them. This is why silence can feel like judgment to others. It reflects their own instability back at them.
They expected validation. Instead, they're left questioning themselves.
True power doesn't argue or defend itself constantly. It simply continues moving forward. Think of someone walking confidently through a crowded space. They don't react to every whisper or rumor. They keep moving, and everything around them adjusts. When you stop giving attention to what's beneath your level, you naturally rise above it. Many people fear this. They think if they stop responding, they'll be forgotten. But the opposite happens. People remember what they can't easily reach. They think about what they don't fully understand. Your absence becomes more powerful than your constant presence ever was. There's a quiet strength in this approach. You don't need to insult, threaten, or dominate. You simply step back, and the dynamic shifts on its own. But this isn't about punishing anyone. It's about choosing yourself. It's about protecting your energy and giving it only where it truly matters. Some people won't like this change.
They may call you distant or arrogant. That's often just frustration from losing access to you. Respect doesn't grow from trying to please everyone. It grows from having clear boundaries.
As you continue with this mindset, you'll feel it internally as well. Your emotions become more stable. Your thinking becomes clearer. You're no longer reacting to everything around you. You're steady within yourself. At its core, this isn't about disappearing. It's about becoming so grounded in who you are that nothing external can move you unless you allow it. That's where real strength comes from. There comes a point where you realize you're no longer chasing space in the world. Instead, the world starts adjusting around you. You don't seek attention, it comes naturally. You don't get pulled into every situation, you choose where to stand. This is the essence of silent power. Not isolation, not coldness, but a kind of presence that influences without effort. When you stop engaging with what drains you, you start shaping the environment around you. People begin to approach you differently. They become more careful.
They recognize that your time and attention are valuable.
The one who constantly reacts is always following someone else's lead. The one who chooses when to engage is always ahead, moving on their own path. And over time, that path becomes something others adjust to. Eventually, someone who once overlooked you may try to come back into your space. They'll reach out, test the waters, try to reconnect. In that moment, you'll feel the difference. But don't fall back into old patterns. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to justify your silence. Your actions have already said enough. People often judge based on what they see on the surface. When they can't easily access you, they assume you're valuable, in demand, focused. Let them think what they will. Your job isn't to correct every perception. It's to live in a way that makes those perceptions natural. Here's the paradox. You don't ignore people to gain attention. You do it to protect your peace.
Reflective. But in doing so, you often become more noticeable than ever.
Your attention becomes something meaningful. Your silence becomes protection. Your presence becomes a statement. Picture someone walking forward with complete certainty, not looking back, not reacting to every call or distraction, just moving with purpose. That's what it looks like when someone has mastered this mindset. Not forceful, not loud, just fully in control of themselves. If this resonates with you, take it beyond these words, practice it, move with intention, let unnecessary noise fade on its own. And when you do choose to speak, let it matter. If you've made it this far, it means a part of you already understands. Where you place your attention shapes your life. What you focus on controls your energy, your emotions, your direction. Ignoring someone isn't weakness. It's the decision to stop feeding what drains you. If you're ready to protect your energy and choose your peace, say it to yourself. I choose my peace. Real power is not in proving yourself, but in mastering where your energy goes. The moment you stop reacting to everything, you rise above what once controlled you. Silence becomes your strength, your attention becomes your currency, and your presence begins to carry weight without effort. You are no longer chasing validation, you are choosing peace, direction, and control. And in that choice, you become someone the world can feel, but no longer easily reach.